As a real estate agent, you know that the industry can be tough to navigate, with constant challenges and obstacles to overcome. That's why we created the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast, where top-performing agents share their insights and strategies for success. Join us as we dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a thriving real estate business. Your host, Lindsay Favazza, will be your guide on this journey. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from the best in the business.
Welcome back to the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Favazza. Our guest for this episode is Suzanne Koller of Suzanne Company with Compass, a distinguished realtor with a heart of service and a knack for making dreams come true. With over 2 decades of experience representing buyers and sellers in historic towns northwest of Boston, Suzanne has honed her expertise in handling unique properties, some of which built prior to 1945. A skilled communicator, researcher, and networker, she's dedicated to not only meeting but surpassing her clients' expectations and is also a firm believer in real estate as a long-term investment. With a background in restaurant management and an education from the Disney College program, which we're going to have to talk about, she's perfected a blend of extraordinary customer service and practical experience that we can't wait to explore in today's episode. Welcome, finally, to the podcast, Suzanne.
Yay, Lindsay, thank you so much. I know it's been a few hits and misses with us trying to get together, but good things come to those who wait, right?
Say, absolutely agree. I have known you for a few years now, and I knew that this was going to be an episode that people would want to hear. So I did not care that you and I both had to kind of move around schedules to get this to happen, but I'm super excited that it's finally here. So let's dive right into it. Tell me about your Disney experience, because that was something I was surprised to hear about.
That's funny. Thank you. Yeah. So when I was in go to UMass Amherst for the hotel and restaurant management major that I was in, a lot of my friends were doing the Disney College internship program. So, and at the time, I mean, this was over 20 years ago. So at the time it was super competitive to get into it. So a lot of people would apply and not get in, but I got in. So I was very happy about that. And I had an awesome experience. So instead of like a semester abroad, it was a semester at Disney. And my job was a lifeguard. I was a lifeguard at the Yacht and Beach Club Hotel. But you would take classes. Like I had to bring a suit. I got to shadow the manager of the hotel because that's what I wanted to get into. So, and they really honed into us, like what makes Disney so special and what, to make those customer experiences. So I had a blast, but I also learned a ton.
So much. It's the customer experience must have been pretty incredible.
Yeah, it really was. And to see behind the scenes and all the things that it takes, like when you're a guest there, you have no idea all the chaos and, mess that's happening behind the scenes. And like, I always joke with my team, but it's the same thing like with like a restaurant, like the back of the house, the front of the house, the kitchen out to the dining room. And it's the same thing with real estate. It's like there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes, but you want your clients to walk into a beautiful open house, or you want your clients to have a great experience, and they don't need to know all the stuff that's going on in the kitchen,
Nope. Yep. Keep that behind closed curtains. But
yeah, totally.
So tell me about your start in real estate. It's been a little while because you started a little while back. So tell me about your experience, like getting into the business.
Yeah, so funny actually. So I got back from the Disney internship, and I had been working in some restaurants and things. I was still at UMass. And I kind of had the epiphany again, like seeing my friends graduating and they were moving all over the world for, hotel or country club management jobs. And the restaurant business, I love it, but it's so brutal, so many hours, holidays, if your dishwasher calls in, you're the dishwasher. And probably worst of all is I can't cook. So I was like, if I, I'm going to be in trouble here. So I needed to pivot, much to my parents' chagrin, because I was, getting ready to finish this degree. But half of my classes at the time at UMass were in business, so marketing, management, facilities. So I had a good business background, and I always loved real estate. So I'm doing this podcast from Cape Cod right now, and as a kid, I would come down here with my parents. We had a house, and literally even when I was like 8 years old, I would get those little real estate books, and I would circle the houses, and I would ride my bike literally to open houses, and I played real estate agent. Like I had a pink phone and a briefcase, and so I would study the designs and the architecture, and so I literally like always loved real estate and architecture, but I didn't think of it as a career. Like there wasn't a major in college at the time to go become a real estate agent.
And they don't tell you in high school, hey, if you want to get into selling real estate, here's the course. Like, here's what you have to do. Like, they don't do any of that.
Exactly. Right. It's like uncharted territory. And yeah, I didn't know many young people in it either, like that I could talk to. But I convinced my parents to let me get my license. So I was 21 when I got my license. And full disclosure, because I think it's a fun little fact, but my grandfather from New Jersey had a brokerage. My maiden name Schmull, and it was Schmull Real Estate on Main Street in New Jersey. But he sold it the year I was born, so I didn't grow up like in the business. But I always his story. Yeah, I was very close to him, and he was a very self-made man. I had a lot of respect for him, so it's in my blood, like truly. So I got my license, and this wonderful woman named Linda from Cole Banker called me and was like, I see you got your license and you're so young. I want to talk with you. So long story short, I did fast start while I was still in college. And then sometimes I get very lucky. And when I was about to graduate, Linda called me and she's like, I left Coldwell. I'm going to the very first startup company ever called Zip Realty out in San Francisco. And I want you to be one of our very first field agents, they called it, back on the ground in Boston. So as a kid graduating college, I had a salary, benefits, a car, a cell phone, and
ideal,
and leads, right? So I hit one running. I was all over the state, like Worcester, Plymouth, Beverly. I was all over the place for 2 years. I just slept. And that's how I got my start. So I've kind of learned from the, School of Hard Knocks, because Linda was helping me, but I didn't really have like somebody that was mentoring me because she was.
But you were on your own, for sure.
Yeah. So it was a great way to learn. I just hit the ground running. So again,
you had to learn how to hustle for sure.
Amen. Yeah, totally.
So how long before I know I'm kind of fast forwarding through your career here, but how long before you started a team? Because in this intro, I didn't really truly mention your team other than the name of your, group. But, I know you have a really strong team of some amazing people. You have such a great group of people with you. But talk to me about that transition and when you decided you needed to have a team and all of that.
Yeah. So another pivotal moment. There's always like these pivotal moments in our career. So I was about 2 years in, and I had, again, working, and making not a lot because it would give a rebate back. And so, I was doing okay, but I was seeing what other agents were making that were on their own or whatever. So I did a wonderful deal with my longtime friend, Jennifer Giuliano at the time, Keller Williams. And then she was like, oh, you should really look into this. And so bottom line is I started looking into Keller Williams, and they're so much into like being an entrepreneur and having your own business and, having a team and all that. So that's when I left Zip and went to Keller Williams. But I was in an office like in Westboro. I was like far away trying to get back to my hometown of Bedford and trying to like break back in. But I have a little plaque that says like Suzanne Company established like, it's like 2000, early 2000s. Because bottom line is even before there was an and company, I knew I wanted the and company. Yeah. So it's kind of like put it out there.
Thinking ahead. Yeah.
Then it'll grow. So that's how it started. And I really did follow like the model of, I'm not with Keller Williams anymore, but it was a great company when I was there. But I followed that model. And I know you guys do, a lot of that. Your agents too. But,
training, getting people up to speed. Yeah, absolutely. So that's awesome. So then what were some of the challenges that you had transitioning into this team? I know, I have a general idea what those challenges are because we've obviously had some of those things that we've worked through here too. But what were some of the things that you had to deal with as far as, starting the team up? Did you run into any, bumps in the road? I'm sure many, but talk to us about those.
Okay. So challenges with creating the team. Yes. And I'm always very like, tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I think one of my biggest mistakes, it's always very scary to have leverage. So all of a sudden, I'm responsible for my clients, but now I'm responsible for other people on my team. And am I going to make enough that's probably one of the scariest transition points to go from me to we. And I made some mistakes because again, I was financially scared. So I would hire somebody that I was like, you're going to be a buyer agent and an assistant. And if now it's like, those are two very, very different personalities.
Right. Yeah.
So that didn't really work. Lesson learned, have somebody that's just in one seat that loves that seat, that's really good at it.
Yeah.
So that was like one of my first challenges.
So then as far as marketing yourself now as a team, marketing your business, getting yourself leads, things like that, what were some of the things that worked for you then that still work for you now that you like would never give up on? What are some of the things that you do to market yourself?
It's a great question, Lindsay. So I think just being such a community connector, again, like I always wanted to get back to Bedford and, become a top realtor there. And it's my hometown. So I think that's helped us stand out too, is we just genuinely care about the community. We're very, very involved. We do a lot of events. Like somebody the other day was like, I can't ever move away from Bedford because like you make Christmas so magical and
That's so cute.
it's fun. Yeah. So I think that's where I kind of tie in the hospitality too, like doing these events and trying to create these memories and, things for people that's way beyond the real estate. So I think that's been key. And I started off by just farming, certain neighborhoods and really trying to get my presence there and be a resource too. So it's like, it's way beyond the house. It's like, you need a babysitter, dog walker, plumber, just kind of being that resource for people. So I think that's always been a hallmark of what we've done. And luckily now it's just kind of grown and grown.
Yeah.
So that's been awesome. And like when we do an open house, trying to really invite the neighbors and get people engaged and letting people know what's happening in real estate. The other day I was saying to some of my agents, we all have financial planners and they check in with us multiple times a year, right? Like, hey, your portfolio is worth this, or you might want to change this. And I think we should be doing the same thing as realtors for our clients. Yeah. Like, hey, it's been a year and did you know that your house is worth this? And letting them know where they stand, because it's most people's biggest asset. So just really treating it with that, that level of respect.
I think that really does tie back to your Disney experience, your restaurant experience, and that original training that you had. And I love when I talk to people on here and they've like weaved their background into the, there's a lot of teachers in real estate that like were teachers and now they're this, like, it's, I just think it's such a cool thing that you've done. And I think that I can honestly say that, yes, you have the community aspect down. And like, even if that was one of the only things that someone did to kind of grow their real estate business, I feel like it's so powerful that it really helps really strongly within a community. As long as you're, like you said, kind of bridging the gap between different businesses and different, community members. I think that that's so cool. So way to go, Suzanne and Company.
Thank you.
So talk to me a little bit about, training your team, getting your team up to speed. I know, as the main person for the team, like the leader of the team, you wear a lot of hats. So how is it that you kind of manage to kind of train people on your team, get them the information they need, answer their questions, but still do your job?
Oh, another very great question, and something that honestly it's a challenge right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Absolutely.
Between like 60 and 80 listings a year myself, and I have a great team behind me that helps me. It's not just me. It's a team, but it is a challenge because I want to make sure that I can be there, to answer all my clients' questions and make sure they're good. But yes, also be a resource for my team. So that again comes from like strength in people and having other people that are also, love the training. And we're actually looking for a director of sales to fill in another big leadership role on our team. And that person would be solely focused on, the training, because we do a lot. We're working on a proven, I call it the blueprint for success, but we're working on, it's like all the things that we do, but we want to just make sure that it's documented. There's a process for everything, and that everybody's path might be a little bit different, but that every agent that comes on the team can clearly see, okay, I'm here. This is where I'm going to start. It's so hard these days. This business is hard enough, but the past couple of years have just been really, especially grueling. So to give the newer agents a path and like not have them get frustrated or burnt out, and then I call it like the sophomore agent that's then having some success, but now they want to go, to that next level. Yeah, exactly. So just having it all, clearly spelled out. And I think actually I'm still very close with my old broker at KW. We talk all the time, just like I talk to Anthony all the time.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
All my people, we all help each other out. We're so lucky, but we're saying it's so important to just have things kind of happen organically too. Like, so people are just in the office on a Monday morning. Let's brainstorm, like, what happened? Like, somebody had an incident over the weekend or a frustration or a situation. And that's where like that wisdom, like 24 years of me doing this, I can say, okay, I've seen that. This is what we should do. So just trying to let people be learning and growing on their own, but while having the safety of the process and the foundation and the knowledge behind it. So that's something we're working on.
I love it. So tell me, what would be your biggest piece of advice? I mean, you've had many years in the business. You're a seasoned vet. You've been through the ups and downs of the market, right? You've been in the market long enough to have gone through some of those ebbs and flows. Now we're going back through another little ebb, right? If that's the right wording. We're going back through that little bit of that dip, and we're, hoping to come out of it quicker this time, hopefully. But what is your biggest piece of advice for realtors out there that are either in the business for a couple of years or just kind of getting into the business? What would be something you'd want to impart on them?
I mean, I love you said something about me, which was so kind earlier, but like that servant part. And I think that's just a huge thing, because sometimes we all get ourselves into a corner, or, we're having a tough time. And it's like, you have to always just remember, first and foremost, like what the client's going through. We're seeing people at some of their worst, most stressful times. Like I was talking to a friend that's a wedding planner, and we were like both saying, like, you see people at it's like a moment in time, but it's such an important moment in time for them. And it's very, very stressful. So just, just don't take things personally. So much easier said than done, but just don't take it personally. Stay the course and always do the right thing. And just know, like, don't ever burn a bridge. Like, this world gets so small, and you might have a bad situation with another agent or somebody in the world, and then you're going to be on another deal with them. So it's like, just try to take the high road and, be patient and all that. Because it's a long game. I mean, this is a really long game. And I think that's why some agents get kind of burned out fast, is they, it's like you're really churning for a couple of years before it starts to like click enough. So just, be patient and give yourself a break too, because I do think we all burn ourselves out in this business. So
we're hard on ourselves for sure.
Important. Yeah.
Totally. Okay. So last question I'm going to ask you, because I know we both have a tight schedule today, but last question I want to ask you, and it's kind of a fun one. Ooh. Tell me your craziest real estate story that you can share on the podcast.
Oh my gosh. I literally have so many. I always say I want
so many. Well, give me one or two then. We've got 3 or 4 minutes left, so give me one or two.
I can picture one that I was probably at Zip, and I was showing a condo in Arlington, and knock on the door, nobody's there. So the buyer and I go in, and we're looking around, and we're like, oh my God, the bathroom door's closed and the shower's running, and we're like, oh my God, get out. So because we knocked on the door, but he didn't hear us because we were in the shower. So then we
in the shower.
Right. So we go back in the hall. We're waiting there, and it was just so awkward because he comes out in a towel, and I didn't tell him we were already inside. I was like, dude, I almost just saw you naked, So that was one that just goes back. And just,
when you did see him in the towel, was it
it was pretty good. Yeah.
So what's the other one? What's the other one that you got?
Oh my gosh. I've had I had an elderly seller that was unhappy with something that the buyers had done, and I'm not going to say the word, but we're at closing. The most calm little demure woman comes into the closing and says to the buyers, "F you and the horse you rode in on," and stormed out. So
you're
little girl, we have all these little things now around closings. We're like, oh, I hope they're not going to come on the horse, Oh my God. And definitely some, if I think of more, I'll let you know. But I mean, that
sure.
We all see so many weird things in this business, but those are two that stick out, because I think it was pretty early in my career. And I was like, oh boy,
what am I getting myself into? Yeah. Well, I have to say that I wanted to ask you that question for sure, because I have to say that one of the biggest things is, I know you did our, Crush It event a couple years back. And I came to your office to just film a video with you. And I had so much fun with you guys. You guys are just such a fun group. And so I knew that this question would just be a fun way to end it. So Suzanne, I'm so glad we finally got to do this. I'm so glad we got the chance to chat, and hopefully we can have you on again. We'll have to start planning it now so it can happen within the next year. But I love it so much. Thank you so much. We'll put all of her links and everything into the show notes so you guys can, talk to her or send a message to her and find out more about her and her business. So again, thanks, Suzanne, for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for listening.
And yeah, I love talking about building the team and all that. So please have people reach out, and I'll think of more awesome, juicy juicy stories. So next time we'll have like a whole half hour for that.
We'll have a whole thing. I love it. Thank you so much, Suzanne. And thank you to our listeners. I appreciate you all. And we will see you guys on the next episode of The Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate.
As a real estate agent, you know that the industry can be tough to navigate with constant challenges and obstacles to overcome. That's why we created the Agents Who Crush It in Real Estate podcast, where top-performing agents share their insights and strategies for success. Join us as we dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of growing a thriving real estate business. Your host, Lindsay Favazza, will be your guide on this journey. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from the best in the business.